when I can't treat my teenager like she's was my 2 year old. She got introduced to Roblox, and I thought that was going to drive me crazy when she was in that phase. She started making little character films of this is my mom acting crazy. It's cute, but it was still, I will hurt you, young lady.
Hmm.
But you said something that was very important that the viewers need to understand.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Cyber Watch. I have with me my amazing friend and partner in crime when it comes to talking about all things cyber. Dr. Toby Barker Williams is with me. Toby, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Don. It is a pleasure to be here with you today and with your audience discussing how we women deal with cybersecurity in our daily lives. A little bit about myself. I've been in IT for almost 28 years. But I've been in cyber strong for the last 14 years, working in various industries from the federal government down to small startups that are, trying to produce a technology product that we all can use and leverage. Um, I have a small business, Eyes on Security, where I provide consulting services. My goal is just to make sure that everybody's doing the right thing. And if they're not, let's help you improve your cyber presence. So I'm very honored to be here today with you, Don. You're rock solid. I'll tell anyone you're one of the baddest cyber chicks I know, with much respect to you with everything that you've done in the past, what you're currently doing presently, and what you will be doing in the future. We're going to bust through the ceiling in our homes, in the stratosphere, to the moon, my girl. I mean, you're awesome. But thank you again for having me.
Oh, that's such amazing. You're a badass chick yourself. So I just think that it's great that we are starting this off together. I love the conversations that we have and the things that we just, kind of brainstorm and discuss. So a little bit about me is I work full-time cybersecurity during the day as well, and I have about 26 years, 27 years of information and cybersecurity. So it starts off with information security before the word cyber ever existed. So now all of a sudden we had to do a little bit of a separation between IT and cyber because they are really two different beasts. So that's why when we say a combination of years, because we start off with the one hat. Remember, we all used to wear the one hat. We were all sysadmins, network admins, whatever you name it. I'm sitting there making the RJ45, cables and crimping and all the fun stuff we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, today I'm a CISO for a major corporation. I also created one of the most successful governance committees where I'm working too. So that kind of it brings down top down leadership, which is really important when we're talking about cybersecurity. And I also have my own business on the side called Securing Everything, and that's where I help everybody, the average person, individuals, not cybersecurity people, because they already know. And if they don't, so I help regular people learn how to be safer online and helping them to understand what data is, what their data is, what is their identity that they need to protect. Because when they know what their data is and what is worth protecting, guess what? Now they understand protecting data at work a little bit more. So it's kind of a catch, I can catch 22 this a little bit because we need everybody to be safer online, but we need our employees to be safer online. But we don't teach employees at home. We have
Right.
totally different situations between work and home. So when they leave work for the day, they're actually leaving all the security behind as well. and none of that goes home with them. However, when we teach them at home and they understand what their home network is, what their home Wi-Fi is, what do you mean change that password? What about the admin account for the modem that's stamped on the back of it? These are things that if they learn there at home, that information sticks with them a little bit more. They can relate to it. And that does transfer back into the workforce. So this is where I try to bridge a gap. And also my my real goal, the real goal is to keep children safe. So
Yes.
everything I do is about keeping people safe, teaching them so that they can pass that on and keep children safe. So welcome to Cyberwatch.
Awesome. I love it. I love the fact that you have done so much to keep children safe. And for your viewers who don't know who you are and what you've done, check her out. I mean, I'm an advocate for any person out there who truly believes in cybersecurity. And like Don said, she started with RJ45 connectors and bare
Router
bone kits.
closet.
Like, yeah, do you even
Closet.
know what an IDF is
Closet.
anymore? So, and the fact that you want to keep our babies safe online
Yeah.
and just protect them, they need it. So, I'm a supporter of all you do, and I continue to watch and enjoy how you are taking everything you've learned and sharing it with common people like myself or my mom or even my sister who just had a baby, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very important that we make sure we tie it back to our home environment so it can be explored and understood in our everyday work lives. So, girl, kudos to you. I think it's amazing. Now, come over and help me at my corporate office that I work in because we got some issues, but we're going to keep it, kosher during
Keep
our
it cool.
conversation.
They probably wouldn't
Cool.
like me. I got a pretty big mouth. I'm from the South, so what can I say?
Girl, I understand.
I Well, I think you do amazing things too, and with your company, helping small businesses and other smaller organizations even is super important because when we're at a major corporation, we're always talking about our security posture. We want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to increase our security posture. Well, it doesn't really matter if everything below us is not secure. So it's kind of like building a house on the sand where this major organization is super strong in their security, but the people that come in or the people that we work with or the people that can gain access to, so we have those, social engineering and all these other different things. If we don't teach them, eventually they're going to be able to break down that foundation that we're on. So we have to teach everybody how to spot these scams and the phishing attempts and all of these things that just bring harm and danger to our personal lives and our children. So children are going to grow up and they're going to be taking that baton forward in protecting our organizations. So while they're learning now, they're learning technology without any real like set guidance. This is unseen, uncharted territory for parents and for schools because there's a big, massive gap. When we were young, we didn't have technology at home, so our parents didn't need to teach us. So now we
Right.
have kids, and guess what? Oh, we can't transfer that to them because we didn't have it. I had the phone that you had to actually dial
The
to
rotary
make a phone
phone.
call. And when I was on the phone, it would just go beep, beep, beep when someone tried to call, right?
Right.
There was no caller ID. So, that was our technology back then. Our technology has evolved so much. So
Right.
we're going to be teaching the up and coming rising stars of corporate cybersecurity, and we need to start now. We need to teach those kids now how to be safe online and understand security. So they're great at technology. And one of my main mottos is kids are technology experts. We already know this. Their parents aren't so much, but their parents are the security experts their kids need them to be. So we need to teach the parents about the security methods that they can apply, which will teach them a little bit about technology, but they'll be able to apply effective steps, things that they need to put into place. They don't need to learn cybersecurity like we know it. They just need access to us.
You know, that I think I love the fact that you said the children, educating the children, training the children. For me, I've seen it firsthand, as I know you have. I was in a program with Georgia Tech years ago, and it was transitioning IT professionals to teachers. And I taught in one of the roughest counties in DeKalb County, well, in Georgia, period, DeKalb County. And I recall sitting in that classroom, there was overcrowding of seats, and those kids, those teenagers didn't care about like what I had to say, right? A bunch of hard noses like, you don't tell me what to do, Miss Williams. Who do you think you're talking to? Yep, 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 yep. I said, how can I engage these children? How? So when you said something's gonna click, once I showed them IP addresses, and once I showed them like those basic configurations of how to configure their PS3, okay, their Nintendo. One guy went home and he tried it. And he came back to school all geeked out. He said, Miss Williams, you were right. I just configured my IP address on my PS3. I said, what? You lying. He said, like, tell me more. But it was something that he had to understand and be introduced to understand the significance of it. And then I tied it into their phones. I tied it into how their girl, I don't think they were on MySpace then, so it was still Facebook, even a couple of years ago when I was teaching. But the fact is, it clicked for them just with understanding the basic networking components, right? And so
made it relatable.
Relatable. But what you're doing to start off with cyberbullying and social engineering. For you viewers that don't know about Dawn, she posts like cyber awareness, you know, how to not succumb to phishing campaigns.
My quiz
workforce.
post.
Your quiz post. I mean, if you just she's taking the time to educate us as adults, right? So just think about the journey she has to go through with kids. And I'm going to say I have to work with kids too, but they're older, they're mature, they're adults. But my adult children that are my clients and that are my fellow employees within my corporate environment, I'm like, did you click on that phishing email that I sent out? I thought it was real. The CEO is not trying to give you his cell phone number for you to call him so y'all can talk about a report.
Right.
I mean, there's a level between everybody else that he ignored just to reach you. So what we're doing from education, taking all our skill set, all our acumen, all of our expertise, and pouring it in at that young age with children, it sets the stage for, you can't say you didn't know or you weren't introduced to make better decisions. And I love that. I love that about securing everything, your organization, your company, your private company that you're building, that you built from the ground up. But like I said, you get to start with the babies and the families, the parents that don't understand. I have the big kids, like the big kids that I talk to and that you talk to every day in your corporate life, right? Why did you not complete your training? I just didn't think I needed, but you just opened phishing email. I don't understand why you didn't do your training. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That impression, you know, babies soak up things as sponges, right? Kids repeat everything. Could you imagine a kid going to say, Mom, at 5 years, our wireless password for our home network is weak? I mean, really, where did you learn that from? Well, Miss Dawn taught it to us in one of her sessions that she had. You know what I'm saying? So it's that ripple effect. Mm-hmm. Now, the elderly are always a target. We know that. Yes. They're always a target. And because we are SMEs, we want to protect everybody. But from a realistic perspective, some individuals are going to fall through the cracks. They really are. And it's not because we didn't try, but we can't reach everyone, but we hope to spread the word, right, about everything that we're doing. And I say that because my mother, who is a Georgia peach, a Southern belle, if you will, good church going woman, sing in the church choir, don't bother nobody, just loves her grandkids and the Lord. Mom finally got away from that typewriter a couple of years ago, built her a system, and she was like, got her internet service or wireless service in her home, put her router in her home. And she was like, well, so and so, my neighbor wants to use my Wi Fi. I said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am, mama. No, ma'am. Yes, I can. It's my, I said, what did I say? So I'm like, I will shut your service down, lady. You will not share your Wi Fi password. Or when I come home, I'm going to change it because that is not good security. Well, her being a Southern woman, and that's the sweetest thing in the world. She didn't understand until I sent my cousin over there, who's a software engineer, and say, no, auntie, you can't share it. And he was like, well, okay. I guess she didn't believe her own daughter, but she's going to believe my cousin is a software engineer.
It was just reconfirming.
Yeah. I mean, you had me, of course, right?
Yeah.
But it starts at home. And
it starts at home, right there. Right there.
It starts at home. So my daughter does not have a social media account, and she's 15. Okay.
Mine didn't either until they were, I think, 19. They didn't want them at that point.
It's so much garbage out there and so much influence. And I need her always in a positive mind state. You know what I'm saying? Talk to your friends, chat with your friends, no social media account. You're not ready. Because I'm barely ready, Dawn. I'm barely ready, right?
It can be a brutal world out there in some of these platforms.
So for an adult. Yeah. So when I teach her about cyberbullying, when I teach about cyber protection, when I teach her if you're ever alone and somebody tries to yell at the top of your lungs, and she's got her little taser pen that I got her, just in case somebody tries to snatch her into a vehicle, because trafficking is real for us nowadays, absolutely. More so in our times now. I want her to be safe. I don't want to hide the world because she's got to grow up. But let's do everything when it's appropriate and when you're ready and you've been prepared.
Well, yeah, we do that with security, don't we? Don't we apply layers and layers and layers? Because there's never any one solution. In fact, as cybersecurity experts, we probably don't even know all of the options that are out there because there's just so much. So we don't know everything, but we know that we have to apply layers. And if we need to fill a gap, if we need to put in like the MFA situation we were talking about earlier, we have to have MFA. We have to get away from these passwords because passwords are over 60 years old. Did you know that?
No, but I looked at, you wrote something about passwords not too long ago in one of your posts. I believe it was on LinkedIn about passwords.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a little password story. When I worked for a major telecommunication conglomerate, right? I remember one of my directors in customer care. She had changed her password every 90 days as was required, right? She changed one character, the number. I said, you are a security risk, ma'am. She laughed at me and she didn't understand why. She said, it's unique. I said, do you know that when I was with the Department of Army as a soldier, U.S. Army, we had a password cracker, and we would crack passwords within 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and I would disable an account. Well, we learned not to do that when it came to the general,
Ooh, no.
But he was guilty. He was guilty. You might
want to pull him aside.
Yeah. I was like, the colonel didn't tell the general we was doing this, that we should exclude his account, but he had the weakest password. Oh, it was we had to pay for it, of course. It was bad time back in the 90s, right? It was a bad time, the late 90s.
Right.
But we learned that no one's exempt from being hacked.
Nobody,
right?
Nobody's immune to it at all.
Nobody's immune. I think people think they wear a bulletproof security vest, say dun da da da, you can't touch me.
These scams are getting so good that it's really hard and I teach this stuff and I still get stuff and I'm like, wow, that actually looks real. Like I
Yes.
can't find one thing wrong with it. This is scary because I know that this is a phishing attempt because my
Right.
bank wouldn't send me that. That's the only thing that made me not click on it. And my advice, and I try to practice what I preach, is if you send me an email with a link in it, I'm not going to click on it. I'm
That's
going
it.
to go type it in. I'm going to use a bookmark or whatever. I try not to ever click on links from my emails. And I don't, you get them on these phones too in the text messaging. Someone sends this bit.ly link or a little truncated link. Don't click on that link. It'll brick your phone.
Don't.
That phone will become nothing but a brick. So don't click on the link. Okay, sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, you're absolutely right. So I want to tell you, I can go to the movies and watch about anything, especially if it's action packed. And no spoilers, but Beekeepers with Jason Stratham, or whatever, however you say his name. I love
Stratum,
him.
stratum.
Stratham, right? He is amazing. And everything that we're talking about, clickbait,
Clickbait.
everything we're talking about with phishing and ransomware, that movie centered on that. As soon as you get into the scene, you got your popcorn, and maybe for me, it was, a little bit stronger than a Coca-Cola I was drinking. I would be clear with the audience. But I was on my seat and I'm like, that's happening today. That's happening in my life. I've experienced what he's talking about, just being in security.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making movies about it. I mean, what was it back in the day? War games that,
Yeah,
took us
that's
by
one I use too.
surprise.
I use that.
War games until present day. We've changed so much. So if it wasn't for security advocates like ourselves,
Mhm.
selves, if it wasn't for us being that stickler to do things in our corporate environment to protect the integrity of the environment, the computing platform, to protect our brand, the company's brand, to protect our own reputation, professional reputation as SMEs in our field, because we're some bad chicks in our field, right? Women are starting to dominate IT, information security, cybersecurity as a whole, right? We are showing that we're just as competent as our male counterparts, right? Nothing against the males in the industry. But women are rising, in what we do every day. But we're learning from what we've done in the past, and we're applying it. But we're bringing people up with us to show this is the right way to do things. This is right. It starts with training. It starts with us being willing to train others and the mentorship of those others. You talked about mentoring earlier when it was just you and I chatting. Do you know how impactful that will be to those individuals, women and men you're mentoring? You have been my mentor, and we're both professionals in the field for a long time, just as that sounding board or piece of advice or how I can maybe approach things differently. We grow together to improve the state of our current corporate life, home life, companies that we independently own ourselves, right? Because we are our brand. We're the best advocate and best voice for security because we live, breathe it, write it, sleep it every day, even when we don't want to. Even when we're wrestling alligators or going to see alligators, we're going to
Hey,
crocodiles, right?
sometimes I solve the biggest problems at 2 a.m. It's just, I can't help it. It just happens. But that's where my problem solving happens.
Right. And sometimes when someone asks me, a small business owner here, San Antonio, he was away visiting his mom. And he said, he called me, he said, Toby, I think I did something wrong. I was like, what happened? He said, I was supposed to get a service because he has a IT consulting firm here in San Antonio, been around here for years, helps the small businesses like churches, small restaurants with their wireless infrastructure, their computer maintenance, and all of that. And he said, my guy who normally handles my pay, my broker, sent it to a different email address, and now my bank is calling. I said, oh crap. I said, dude, there's man in the middle attacks. There's those all, I mean, is there, there's DOS attacks. I said, but you sound like you got a man in the middle attack, or there was something in the waiting to intercept your payment. And he was like, I got to call the bank. I said, you got to do something, because it was a large payment, talk about like his mortgage, right, for his home. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that happened, but they corrected it. They refunded the proceeds back to my friend. But what he learned is, I said, all these phantom emails that you got redirected money everywhere and stuff, maybe look for a third-party payment solution, like maybe PayPal, Venmo, or, legitimate wires, right? Because wires are scam too. We see that in the mortgage industry. So it hit close to home, where even like you said earlier, we don't know everything as security professionals, right? There's so many different other pockets that we haven't explored. And him being a man in his mid to late 60s, he was like, this can't happen to me, but it did, just for an era of using the incorrect email address. Or you're still affiliated with that address, but your broker didn't know, so the payment was intercepted by that person, and they got those funds, and you had to fight and prove that they were actually yours and the error occurred so you can get that money back. And so it was a whole ordeal. They finally resolved it like after like 30 days. But that's the least amount of time, especially when there's fund transfers and wire transfers that happen. So yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and you mentioned, we're talking about these different these cash apps or PayPal, Venmo, all of these different things are, and these are all convenience, right? It helps us conveniently transfer money. Sometimes it's avoiding, a lot of people like to use them because it avoids extra bank fees, or they don't have a checking account. This is the only method. And when you're out at the grocery store, you can just put your phone up to the thing and Google Pay it. It's convenience that we're working with here, and that there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is when we get stuck into, how are we protecting the privilege of having convenience? So, for example, today I went to transfer money from one of my accounts to my bank account, and after I sent the money, now I've had this set up for quite some time. After I sent the money, I'm like, those aren't the last digits of my bank account. And now I'm like going, oh, I'm really starting to get worked up. And so I start digging into it, and I'm like, oh, hell no, this did not just happen. But I realized, and thankfully, this was another security layer of that particular app that changes my account number. Okay. So it's not revealing what it is on the display. So it still went to my bank account. Just that's not the number to my bank account. Right. So I freaked out thinking, oh my gosh, who did I send? Who got into my application here and changed my bank account? And it took me a minute. And as a cybersecurity professional, it took me a minute to figure out, okay, we're good. Chill. So this is nobody's fault when if you're experiencing things that we've been talking about and you think, wow, I just don't know enough, it's not your fault. These scams are designed to spoof anybody, including us sometimes. And so I'm more aware of things like that. So when that happened, I jumped on it because I try to prevent this kind of stuff from happening, right? So with the evolution of technology, as fast as it's gone and as fast as things have changed, if you think about it, when my kids were little, we were just bringing a computer into the home. That was Bill Gates, big dream. We had Steve Jobs that wanted to put 1,000 songs in your shirt pocket using that little MP3 player. Remember those? We didn't have a phone with a screen. We had an MP3 player. And then we had Bill Gates, who wanted to put a computer on every desk in every home. And that was their dreams. That's what they aspired to do, as these pioneers of these devices and the operating systems, all these other different kinds of applications. So now we're, think about that. That's 25, 26, 27 years ago. Now we have these little mini computers in our back pockets. They're getting smaller and smaller.
Smaller
We,
and smaller.
the laptop I
Smaller.
used to have in the day was this thick, and now it's so thin I
And
could fit it in a notebook.
I
So
had one.
yeah, so we've evolved so much, and with each phase of our evolution in technology comes new technology, which means new learning curves even for us. So
Right.
when we say that there's all this stuff going on and we have people that are worried about what could I do, that's why we need to teach you the basics, because then at least you have that part. Once you have the
Right.
basics, and this goes for individuals or the small businesses and organizations that you're working with, they need the basics. We've kept this such a secret for so long because it's cybersecurity. We got to keep it close to our chest. We can't show our cards. Well, we're not doing ourselves any favor because we still have people clicking on links in emails. So until we start showing and revealing those basics, everybody needs to know the basics.
Every
Everybody's entitled to be safe online. And every single person on this earth has data, unless you're living in an Aboriginal or, a country that doesn't have the technology. Everybody else has data. And
right.
that is what we need to protect. And your data is being shared with organizations like the ones we work with. So how are we protecting data that they are gathering on us? And it's not like they're doing anything wrong. It's a necessity. We need to have auto insurance. We need to have bank accounts. We need to have healthcare. We need to have all these things. But in order to make sure that I'm the only one with access to that bank account, so I'm the only one with access to that healthcare, then they have to have information specifically for me, which means
Right.
my personally identifiable information. And
Right.
when we give it to them, we're giving it to them with the premise that they're securing it. However, because we're in the United States and we're not in the European Union, we don't have GDPR here. We have
Right.
some states that have applied some of the internet safety protections or things like that. The ones, you've got the ones that need to protect children. So children are being protected, but the rest of us, we're not as protected as our friends in the EU. So GDPR, just to let everybody know, this is a new standard that's been out about what, 5 years, 6 years, a little more
May
than that.
2018.
Man,
Yeah.
time flies. It's been a
Yeah.
while. Yeah, because I think it was actually when I was still at the hospital that I worked in the Northwest. That's 2016. So it's even older than that. Wow.
It
See, it
became
goes by so
mandated.
fast.
Yeah, GDPR came mandated in, I want to say May 25th, 2018, because the financial conglomerate I was with, it was like, hurry up. Is
Yeah, we
everything
were
done
in the hurry
probably
up.
compliant?
We
Yeah.
were in the hurry up because we were rolling out Epic for the hospital chain, and we had to have everything already had to be compliant so that
Mm-hmm.
when they went live, it was ready to go. So
That was it.
GDPR basically allows the consumer,
Mm-hmm.
us, to tell organizations what they can and can't do with our data. Now, we don't have that here in the United States, but I am seeing more and more organizations saying we comply with GDPR, and we're giving that option. So, for example, if you go on the internet and you see at the bottom the bar that says please accept these cookies, that is a piece of GDPR. That's not something the United States implemented, but because websites and entrepreneurs want to do business globally, they have to have that compliance in place. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter that I work in the United States. If my client is in the EU, I have to comply with GDPR.
Yeah,
So
that's
there's no
true.
getting away from it. So that cookie, accept my cookies things at the bottom is a part of that. And that's basically saying, I don't have to let you sell my information. So we're
Exactly.
seeing some benefits of this here in the States. And I can't wait until we actually apply the rest of it. It would be nice to be able to say, I don't want you, Mr. Z, selling my information on that platform. I see a lot of it too, where you'll see a post that says, "This is my this is my disclaimer or whatever about I did not authorize you to use my data. You cannot sell it, blah, blah, blah. This is, personal, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on and on and on about you have, been on notice now. You cannot do this. And I'm like, but hold on a second, because you created an account and you accepted the terms, you cannot retroactively remove them. So it doesn't matter what you post. That is just not going to happen. So
it's GDPR is the strongest data protection law we have to date globally. CCPA, the California Consumer Protection Act, is a strong second to it because it adopted a lot of what GDPR has. However, it's not all across the US and
just
all
California
its territories, right? It's California. So we have to tread lightly, but like you just stated, if you want to do business overseas, especially when in the EU, you have to accept or be compliant with GDPR because there's fines, right? There's fines that are associated with your organization for not being compliant. And see, these are some of the things that we as cybersecurity professionals, SMEs, badass chicks, we're aware of. We're aware because we're responsible for protecting our corporate cultures from any wrongdoing. Let me lead you to the water. I will. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you, hey, don't you put your foot in that water. Are you sure you want to do that? Let me teach you how not to become a victim. And I think that's what we're saying. Yeah. We're saying, let me show you. And we're taking the step, friendly gesture to educate you from childhood to adulthood. Then adulthood, it gets more stringent, more you're presented with additional detail that you didn't have before. But we don't know everything, but we'll find the answers. And I think that's what represents us as SMEs in cybersecurity, once information technology, once information security, cybersecurity, right? Yeah. We are the SMEs that have the experience, the knowledge that we are driving home day to day. And I love the fact that you shared your experience with that financial transaction, because a lot of people aren't transparent that they become a victim. Yeah. And that's the problem. How can I relate to you and understand what you're saying if you're not giving me your own experiences? And that's what we're teaching the kids, right? That's what you're teaching the kids. Yeah. And that's what I'm teaching my adult children that I meet. And I, with all respect to my clients and, my corporate brothers and sisters, it is, I'm even a hard pill to swallow myself. I've been a victim of fraud as it relates to my FedEx account, right? I know that I didn't ship anything from DC. I know that. I know that I'm the only one that has access to my packaging and distribution for FedEx packages and deliveries. But FedEx was like, you owe us like $300. Wait a minute, I don't owe you $300. My card was never charged on file. That's not even my billing address. Somebody has used my credentials, even though I have strong passphrase, even though I have MFA in place, even though I have tracking on the card that I use on file, any red alerts I'm notified of, so I can, say, refute that transaction or rebuke that transaction, say that wasn't me and here, this is X, Y, and Z. And we finally came like, you're right, this is not you, this isn't even shit from your business office. This is not even anyone associated, because no one has access to my account. It's just me. So if it came from me, proven identity, then yes, and they agreed, and they was like, you're absolutely right, we'll apologize, because they wanted to take me to collection viewers. They wanted to put a mark on my credit report. It has taken me a while to build that good credit up, and I will not have it.
And you have to watch that constantly these days, because you get dinged for this stuff and you're like, I was never in that city or that state or that country. There's and it's so prevalent out there. And there's areas that, when you go and you visit certain areas around the world, even just being there, you're at risk. You're at risk.
At risk.
And I'm going to say this very gently, because when you go to some of these countries that are not as affluent as the United States, they're just trying, and I don't want to give the wrong impression, because it's wrong. It's still wrong. It doesn't matter. But you have to consider people are just trying to put food on the table in some of these areas, and it's very difficult to live in those countries that they don't have the same economy that we have. And now I'm by no means am I saying, just let it happen, or that they're doing the right thing, because they're not doing the right thing. But if we're not educating people out there on how to do things the correct way, we're going to continue to have pockets where it's not safe, and that people are not doing the right thing because they're just trying to survive. Again, I'm not saying it's right. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. But it makes me think, wow. So by sharing information, by opening up and making the world a safer place, one, we're putting them out of business, because I just made you a little bit more aware of that app that I struggled with earlier today, wondering, did I just send money to the wrong place?
Right.
If we can put them out of business, because you're now all able to spot those, because my training is about spotting the red flags. Now, I train on spot the red flags. I train on spot that predator for online child predators. And so that parents and individuals, because it doesn't matter if you are an adult or a teen or, even a child, you have to be able to spot a predator. And I need you as an adult to teach your children, because children, Siggy wants to join in on our conversation. Our children are not able to make these decisions, they're not able to assess the situation, because their brains have not fully developed, and they won't until they're about 25 years old. So our brains are developed from the back to the front, and the frontal lobe is the last portion of your brain. Okay, now she wants food. I don't know if you can hear the dog.
No.
No, you can't. She's just having a good old time here. So, because our brains don't develop enough until we're around 25 years old, you can guarantee that almost every single kid out there will not make the right choice based off of information that they're left alone to discover. Now, if we step in and we teach them how to analyze a situation, how to take caution when you're sending a chat message to somebody you never met online, we can help them think. We can help them analyze, but they don't learn this on their own without our intervention, without us stepping in and saying, now this is the education of today. What I learned in
Right.
school, what you learned in school, what we had to deal with about stranger danger with the guy, or somebody around the corner, somebody hanging out in a van, totally different today, because they don't need a van, they don't need a corner, they just need a phone or a laptop. And for your kid to have one too. So we have to educate you and educate businesses, even, because they can fall victim to those red flags just as easily. So these are interchangeable conversations here. If we're not educating anybody, then we're going to see more scams growing and growing and growing, because we're not out there opening our mouths. And if corporations want to be safe online, they want to have that security posture, then you need to make sure that your employees know how to protect their own data, their own home Wi-Fi. Now, they can't come in and they can't make them do that, but they can actually empower them to.
Right. Give them incentives. Dawn, is something that you just said, empowerment, incentives, how we learn and develop from our brain development perspective. But I also want to say this to you as my peer, my badass chick who's changing the game, and your viewers. If we are passionate about security and we want to make sure everything that we're doing the right thing, and we want to make sure that we're bringing awareness to the forefront of all that we come in contact with, if we're not sharing that information that we have to protect the well-being of a child to adult to our corporate lives, then we as security professionals are wrong. And I say that wholeheartedly. It's our choice to share, but we also have to understand we've been put in this place to be of benefit to someone else. And with that, being of benefit to someone else means educating them on the dangers with online activity,
Mm-hmm.
with people with using your cards even locally, with sharing your passwords. I mean, in the home environment, I won't lie. My daughter knows how to get onto my phone and be like, Mom, I need to see, get that picture from you, or Mom, I need to set our ADT security system, right? She knows how to do that. But I've taught her how to do that. And I taught her that just ask me unless I'm in the shower or unless I'm asleep or something. She wants to set the alarm because she's too lazy to go downstairs and punch in a button. And I don't think she's responsible enough to have the app on her phone because she is a teenager, right? Then that I'm cool with that. But I've taught her the importance of what she's doing. I'm taught her the importance of just our physical safety and security in our home. But we've said it time and time again during our talk tonight. It starts at home.
It
We
starts
train
at
at
home.
home, but we as professionals, there should be some level of obligation that we take upon ourselves to educate others. And that is exactly what you're doing every day of your life. I do that every day of my life. And I will admit to you and all of your viewers, I get frustrated. When you don't do your annual training, as a layer of defense, because we're practicing defense in depth with the layers of controls and
Mm-hmm.
processes and tools that we have in place, right? When people don't do their training, it's like, I don't care about security right now. You should
Yeah.
always care about security, especially your own.
Yeah.
So I can get on my soapbox all day, everyone, but I won't, because I'm talking to a SME um, over this talk, over this channel, right? Who lives and breathes it every day, and who takes risk management and security risk management seriously from a child's age to an adult age. We hope that you all are getting this same energy and positivity that we're presenting today because we're passionate about what we do. We're trying to
Yeah.
save lives both in the cyber realm as well as our day-to-day lives of
Mm-hmm.
how we use devices in our home. Anyone got Alexa? Alexa
Mm-hmm.
rules my house down. So she turns the TV on, she goes to Hulu, Netflix,
Turns
but
my lights on and off.
turns my lights on. But at the end of the day,
Well, to
I
be
still
fair, it's hard
know,
to reach because it's so high. So,
yeah, I just can't flip that switch, or the remote control's right there, Alexa TV on. So it's those comforts that we have now that we still must consider, because we're trusting vendors like Amazon, Apple with Siri, Google Nest, if you have that Google system in your house for your thermostat. We're trusting all these third parties with our security and our tools and apps that we use, but are you trusting yourself to make the right decision?
mm-hmm.
And that's what it boils down to. Your
Yeah.
security, your protection of your information is in your hands.
Don't
But we're
leave. Yeah. Don't leave it up to someone else. Don't leave it up to Google. Don't leave it
exactly
up to Alexa. Don't leave it up to someone else. You have to take action yourself for your own data, your own security at home. And you think about when you're raising your kids. This is something that, when I was raising my kids, I'll tell you a story about my kids. So I've been doing this for quite a long time, since early 2000s. I've been teaching people how to use their computers and stuff like that. So as I'm working at these different organizations, I also learned how to build my own computers. So I started building computers for a living. My company was called Computers at Work, and at was the at symbol. I thought it was so cute. I loved that, Computers at Work. And, because we wanted computers to work, right?
right.
So I'm building these. I have all these components and all this stuff. And then I start working for another major organization. So I did less of that. And I came home one day, and here's my son, my oldest son, cracking open his Xbox and slave driving a hard drive to it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm thinking first, the first thing in my mind was that was $400. You just broke it. You stand out in front of the game store at midnight waiting for the sale to start so you can actually buy this console, and he's cracking it open and I'm flipping out. Okay. So parents that are flipping out, or you have kids that are doing things that you're like, how the heck did you learn how to do that? And you know what he said to me? I watched you. I watched you.
There.
He was watching me. He learned how to he figured it out because he watched me. Now, this was years before that I was building computers, but I also built my own computers. So I still had a lot of this stuff around. And the important message I have there is, what are you as a parent doing to educate your kids by your actions, not just what you tell them to do? Because kids don't care about what you tell them to do, they care about what you do and why they can't do it.
Right.
So you're going to have to level the playing field here when it comes to security. I'm not saying you can't be a good parent, but authoritative parenting is out when it comes to security, because there's too many other options available to your child that you lose control of as soon as you try to implement that authoritative parenting. So you have to be a collaborative parent these days. You have to invite your children into the discussion, into the conversation, and together you lose the title. You're not the parent, you're not the child, you're the family. You're members of the family, equal members of security that need to be protected. So you work together to determine, so the kids can bring some technology experience while the parents bring some security experience, and they work and teach each other how to protect themselves. And now the kids have a better understanding on why mom and dad said, no, you can't do that. So when we're teaching by example and we're speaking to their level, because look, we didn't know technology when we were kids. These kids are smart. These kids are born into technology. It's almost like AI is in their head already. I swear it's not, but it's kind of scary how much they know and what they can do. It can be very dangerous to have this. And this is why I teach this. Children that don't have the full capacity of that frontal lobe are not going to make great decisions. They're going to be spontaneous, which is always a recipe for disaster when it comes to kids making the wrong choices. So if we're not teaching them and they have access to this technology, do you want Uncle Google and Aunt Alexa teaching them? Or do you want that child predator empathizing with them, listening to them, helping them to feel better about their situation, and drawing them into them and drawing them away from you?
Right.
You need to maintain that trust. That's the most important message I can give a parent today. You need to maintain the trust you have with your children, that your goal is to keep them safe, not to be a mean parent. And they need to understand and know the whys. You have to talk to them. You have to tell them why. You can't just say, because I said so anymore. That's out. That was out when security was no more than Department of No. Remember those days when we could say no, it's not secure to do that. Now we have to actually explain why. We can't just say no anymore. Same with at
So,
home.
so Dawn, I'm going to be that parent that's going to say no. Okay. So I believe in building a trust, but I also believe in setting boundaries with kids, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's
And
certain
I
things
don't
age
think we set
appropriate.
enough. Yeah.
Age
I don't think,
appropriate.
yeah. When I can't treat my teenager like was my 2-year-old, right? She's grown up with parents that are in technology. We both were soldiers, me and her dad. We both are IT backgrounds. We both work in IT. We're both
And
in
she will
cyber
learn
role.
by
And she
watching you both.
knows. She's taking coding classes here with Code Ninja so she can program a little herself, right? She got introduced to Roblox, and I thought that was going to drive me crazy when she was in that phase. She started making little character films of, this is my mom acting crazy. It's cute, but it was still, I will hurt you, young lady. But you said something that was very important and that the viewers need to understand is guidance and putting guardrails, building that trust. I always believe in giving them enough leverage to hang themselves, but to learn from it, right? But I'm going to be there to pick you up. You're probably going to get chastised. especially if you do something that we talked about not doing, building that trust. But as sure as I give you
Yeah.
that trust and you show me you can't be trusted, now I got to pull you back in. I got to pull you
Yeah,
back in
that's parenting though.
closer.
That's not
Right,
authoritative parenting or,
right.
collab.
That's
That's just
parenting.
straight up parenting. So you still have to parent and you still have to guide
Right.
them. And I like that you said putting in guardrails and letting them learn from some mistakes, because that does, when I tell you their frontal lobe isn't developed, if we don't let them learn from mistakes, then we're coddling them until they're an adult. And then they all of a sudden have to learn how to make decisions on their own. And that's not doing them favors. So we kind of have to start young.
Yeah.
And these days, I'm sorry, but if you got a preschooler that has a smartphone, and even if yours doesn't, but someone at preschool does, chances are the likelihood of them looking at CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material, otherwise known as pornography with child porn, which are taboo words these days. Now we just call it child sexual abuse material because no child can consent to participating.
Right.
So the reason why I'm bringing that up is if your 5-year-old has access to someone that has access, then the chances are they've already been exposed at the age of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not something you start when they turn 12. This is something you start age appropriate conversations. If something
Exactly.
like this happens and you see something like this, you need to let me know so we can talk about it. Build
Yeah.
that trust. Keep them coming to you. And that's what my whole goal is I want your kids to keep coming to you rather than Uncle Google and Aunt Alexa or somebody else that will give them the ear that they're looking for, because
Exactly.
you are the one that has the best interest of them in mind, and you have a stake in them being successful adults.
You are right. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And we parent different. And I love how
Mm-hmm.
you said that's parenting, because back in my era, our era, what did I say? Do it. Don't ask me no questions.
Mm-hmm.
And even
There
as a
was none.
soldier,
Yeah.
it was don't challenge the system. Do it as I say. You have to get a repetition because you can be saving lives one day, like stripping an M16 or making sure when you're weapons quality, you point the weapon down range, right? Safety. Cyber, we're doing safety. We're
Exactly.
protecting the
Mm-hmm.
safety, the innocence. We're preserving that childhood of our child, and we're walking them through the stages. And I love how you said the age appropriate. Let me walk you through the stages, because
Mm-hmm.
as a child, you should think as a child. As you become an adult, you become an adult. You put away childish things.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you put away childish things, but you never know nowadays. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, my 5-year-old didn't have my. Did I even have an iPhone when she was 5 years old? Maybe I had something with AT&T. Or I don't. I think maybe it was a flip phone. I don't know what I had when
I
she
know
was
I
5.
didn't.
Right?
I was like,
But
I'm
she
not getting
wasn't.
one.
Yeah, she wasn't interested. I mean, I had a mobile phone, and it was all pretty. And so, but she was into Dora, okay, the Explorer. She was into Blue's Clues. As she's transitioned on, she got a phone just for me. When I got a divorce, it was like, okay, I know you're at school. I know you're here, but if mommy is late and I'm not here, she was calling, mommy, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm late, she's like, Mom, can we get some ice cream? Where are you? She still asks me where I am, and I can be stuck in traffic right outside the gates of her school in the child pickup loop. So it's the stepping, as you said, through the when it's maturity. It's all about maturity, not
Mm-hmm.
coddling, preparing. But let's do it sound and a structured and a safe way
Mm-hmm.
with technology, with passwords.
Don't
She
be
has the
adverse to
password.
technology. Don't be afraid of technology.
That's it.
I think we need to teach people to embrace it and face that fear if you have it. I challenge you to take that step and become confident with technology. And
And if you don't
you
know,
don't have to
ask
have
us.
the bells and whistles. You just need to have a couple of things in place and have a couple of processes that you do and methods. And we show this to people all the time, how to apply what works for them, because every family's different. First of all, we can't apply the same situation to every family, because one, you have one kid, you have 10 kids, there's a whole lot of things you need to learn if you have 10 kids or more. So there's a lot of age appropriate types of things that we need to talk about there, because little kids are going to see what the big kids are doing, and the little kids are going to want to do the same thing. Is it
Yeah.
appropriate for them to do the same thing that the 12 and 14-year-old are doing? No, it's not appropriate. Do you have the same conversations with them? No, we don't have the same conversations. We elevate as needed. So,
And I
and
think
each
that's key.
trust.
You
Yeah.
Is key is building trust, is building a level of relationship with your kid. Mom and dad, yeah, we got it.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom, he's dad, I'm the kid or kids. Because when that starts to change, we're still mom and dad, but we want to have a level of trust in you that
Yeah.
we've taught you to do the right thing and make the right decisions. And when you're afraid, especially when it comes to that cyber stuff, especially when it comes to that social engineering, that social activity, come with us. It's building that I want to say not just relation, but it's establishing a presence that we care
Mm-hmm.
about your safety ongoingly, not just physically, but virtually, mentally, right?
Yeah.
And we want to keep you safe. And we're going to keep you safe, but we need your help to do that. Building that foundation, as you said,
Yeah.
starts
Bring them
so it's
in.
so important.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
And I
important.
think it's totally fine for a parent to say, I know that you know so much about technology, because kids do. They're born with it in their hands. They're teething on it at the age of 3 months old. But as soon as they can hold on to it, that's what we give them. We give them the teething ring is now the smartphone with the soft case on it, of course. but but
That
the
is terrible. That is terrible, but it's true.
it's true. So as kids grow into it, they're scrolling as soon as they understand what YouTube is. And I've seen people close to me doing the exact same thing with very, very young children, and they scroll until they see the picture that they want, and they click on it because they want to watch that show. Now, I want to say something really quick and then get back to what I was saying. When, let's say you have somebody that likes, I'm going to just say Scooby Doo, because that way I'm not calling someone specific out. So let's say that your child likes Scooby Doo, and they're scrolling on YouTube and they find a Scooby Doo thumbnail, and that's what they want to watch. So they click on it. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Well, what do you think child predators are doing?
They're doing the same thing
They're
your
putting
child
the
is
Scooby
doing.
Doo thumbnail on their videos, so that when your child clicks on it, they're not going to realize that that's actually not about Scooby Doo. So there's some concerns there. But when you can talk to your child about, hey, I know you are so good with technology, and I'm so glad that you're learning it, but I think we should work together, because I don't know a lot about technology like you do. It's totally fine to say I don't know everything about it, but what I do know is how to protect us. So if we can work together, you can teach me a little bit about technology and what you want to use and why you want to use it, and I will help us figure out the best way that you could use it securely. You're bringing that child in, they're coming to you. Now they know, okay, mom's not going to fight me on using Roblox. I can't even say it. They're not going to fight me on using Discord. Now, these are dangerous applications with the child using it without supervision. Very dangerous.
Right.
But if you work with them and set the boundaries, like you were saying, boundaries are super important. You set the boundaries, you make the rules, and you all follow them, not just the kids. I'm requiring everybody follow the same rules, age appropriate, of course. So get your nose out of your phone so your kids can get their nose out of their phone. You can
Oh,
disconnect to reconnect to your family.
yeah.
You can walk across the street safely. So you can be aware of the situation around you, so that you're not walking where you're not even paying attention to the danger. So there's
Right.
all kinds of things in there that parents can bring to the table confidently. They don't have to have everything. You don't have to have all the knowledge of technology. That is something you can give your child, saying, hey, why don't you teach me what you like most about Discord? Use it as a teaching moment for you, so that then you know how to go in there and figure out how do I secure this for my kid. I know how they want to use it, and I know what I don't want them to do in there. So we're going to talk about that, but I'm going to set it up so that they can do all this other stuff securely.
Exactly. They'll be like, Mom and Dad trust me. She knows I'm gonna do the right thing. She
And
knows
if
I'm
I
not
make a
gonna mess
mistake,
this
I
up.
can go to them.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not gonna mess up. But if I do, mom and or dad are approachable. We're
Yes,
approachable. I may
absolutely.
be upset. I'm like, oh God, I can't believe you did it. How did you share your past? But at the end of the day, I'm like, it happens. It happens.
It happens. It
So
happens to all of us.
just
So
tell me.
don't think for a second it's not going to happen to your kids
Yeah,
because
it
we
is.
do it. How
It
many
is.
times have we seen people click on that link at work? We all do it.
All right. Did I just do that? Oh, no, you did that. Okay, got it. No, it happens. And we're here to celebrate it. We're here to encourage it. We're here to learn from it, as all parents should be, as all employees should be, when it comes just to protecting what we hold dear. We hold dear our children. We hold dear our PII, our personal identifiable information. We hold true to our hearts. Some of us do. I want to say vast majority our jobs, because it feeds our family, it pays our utilities, our mortgages, and so forth. But it's also that we know we want to. Most of us, generally speaking, want to do the right thing, from protecting what we hold dear, from our children's welfare to our family's welfare to our corporate welfare, and just want to be better stewards of how we protect information. Period. Right? How we protect the well-being, and how we have it's okay to have a checklist when you're first starting out in this cyber journey, in the security journey, right, for you and your kid. Did we talk about this? How often should we rehash? How often should I investigate what's going on? Do I have I still confidence in my child to do the right thing? Have I taught my child to do the right thing? And it could be a rehearsal. It's just like a preparing for a storm, in Florida, right? You
Mm-hmm.
prepare for a storm in Florida, you have your emergency plan together, you have a checklist. Did I change batteries? Do I have the window guards there?
Do I have
Are we
gas?
away
Yeah.
from it? Did we leave, or do we have water and dry foods in case the power goes out and we don't have flushing water, or whatever the case may be? You put all these activities in place to make sure that you're
Yep.
protected before the storm, if the storm happens, and the aftermath of a storm. It's just like with cyber. We're not always going to be protected. We're not always going to be 100% sure our process is going to work, our plan is going to work. But if we educate and we train our
Mm-hmm.
children, the people that we work for and work with, the businesses that we support and we encourage, then we are practicing what we call due diligence. And
Due
we're
diligence.
putting due diligence in place to make sure that what we exemplify as professionals, it's paid forward, versus
Mm-hmm.
let me hold it close to my chest. I can't
Right.
let you know that you should have 8-character password. If anybody's got an 8-character password out there, you're wrong. Okay, I just want to put that out to everybody. You're just wrong, flat out
Get rid of the
wrong.
password. It's 60 years old. So
Yeah.
old.
So there's
And I'm
so
not
many
talking on
ways to
human life,
protect.
just on a technology life. If you're going on the technology time frame, that is ancient. 60
Ancient.
years
It
is
is.
ancient. Why are we using passwords? Get rid of them.
And please do not say, "Oh, I've noticed in my professional life that some people have these last password and 1Password technology applets, but we don't put our passwords in the applets, or we forget what the password is to get into that password keeping tool." Let's practice more due diligence out there and remembrance
Well,
of
if you're
what we
going to
should
use
know,
one,
right?
at least make that the strongest password of all. Like that one better be 14 characters. Like seriously. And it better
Please.
not all be letters and numbers. It better have some symbols and stuff in there. And you know what? You can even use the space key now. So make it a sentence. Just a sentence, the favorite song that you love, or, the poem line that inspires you, or something crazy your kid said that nobody can guess. That's what you use.
December 123 exclamation mark is not a good password, people. I'm just gonna put it out
No,
there.
okay, here. Any word in the dictionary, whether you use three different words, can be cracked very quickly. So,
Quickly.
no dictionary words. You need to have letters, numbers, and symbols in there. And now start adding that space. Make it, like for example, I use this one all the time. If your favorite phrase is I love Shark Week, then change that. Instead of saying I love Shark Week, put in spaces between those words and change the E's to threes or add something in there that's different that you won't forget. Make it extremely complicated for someone to guess, but simple enough for you to remember. And if that's what you use for your password vault or password manager, and it's 14 characters or longer, at least, okay, 12. I'll give you 12. It has to be more
I
than
want to
12.
be 12.
Yeah, I don't even like 12, but 14 is great. 14 is great. And and if you want to, if you can, any opportunity you can get rid of a password and use only the multi-factor authentication, that is even better because
True.
you're making it harder for a scammer to actually be able to take over your account because they don't have access to your device, to your phone to accept that code. So 14 characters or use MFA, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we had a great discussion. I think this was
Yeah, it was
awesome.
cool.
Thank you for your service, first of all. Thank you
You're
so much for your
welcome.
service. Thank you for being my peer, my friend, my ally, my, shoulder to cry on sometimes. I love it. And I think that this is something that we should do quite often because I think I like playing off of the conversations that we have. And we both come at this with different perspectives as far as what our personal businesses are. So we are by day cybersecurity experts, but by
Yes.
night we have different hats that we wear and we try to educate and make the right help people make the right choices, regardless if it's a business or an organization, an individual or a parent. So,
Right.
I think we cover the gamut there on who we're trying to protect and bringing awareness and bringing cybersecurity out of corporate America to the general public. And I've heard it all. I've heard people say, well, if you're teaching this to people, then you're teaching the scammers what to modify. And it's like I can't not teach somebody how to protect their own data because I'm worried that one of them might be a scammer. If
Right.
I'm teaching them how to detect red flags, then the more they learn how to detect the red flags, the more red flags they're going to be able to detect. I have to rely on the fact that that's more important than a scammer trying to pay attention to what I'm saying so that they can modify what they're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, we have to get people caught up. And
I
I'm not
love it.
I'm not selling trade secrets here. This is stuff you can actually read in a book. If people wanted to read these very dry, dull, boring books, that's not fun to read.
Right.
So
Security 101, what we've given you just scratches the surface on so many. Don, I have enjoyed our conversation tonight, and I look forward to us having more conversations around cyber protections. We can even dig into regulatory piece, which will probably bore our audience or your audience, right? But the fact is that we are passionate about what we do, and we're trying to do the right thing. And when you're trying to do the right thing, whether it's one viewer or 2 million viewers, it's
mm-hmm,
going to catch someone's ear. It's
mm-hmm,
going to, what we're doing is not in vain. It's actually doing to help. And we are trying to help individuals and their families, especially children.
yeah,
Um, it hits a deeper heartstring, I believe. We're like, teach me more, help me understand, and help me elevate my understanding so I can just have talks with my children, my employees,
mm-hmm.
my bosses.
Your adult
Are we
children.
asking, what about when I travel? What am I missing when I'm traveling, when I'm going
Mm-hmm,
to a foreign country? These things that we've talked about only sets the stage for those next conversations that we have
mm-hmm.
together with your viewers, which is going to be impactful. There's nothing that we've done this evening that will not impact someone, because there's
Right.
some parent out there not paying attention. There's some parent out there not realizing they just gave their teething ring of a phone to their toddler who's got
Yeah.
drool now all over their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do and what you have done with securing everything paints light on a picture that is so vast a mural. I like to say murals, right? Because they tell such a deep story of journeys, right? Of what we go through in everyday society. So I thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform and share my passion, my energy, my laughs. Like I said, we are two badass cybersecurity chicks. Pardon the language, people. I think my girl is awesome. I think she's rock solid.
Right back
And
at you.
after 20 plus years of both of us, what we have, there's so many stories that have helped us grow and mature into the people we are today. So I thank you. I thank you for
Well,
this
thank
hour,
you.
girl.
I'm
It
so
has been
glad you're here.
awesome.
I love that you're the first guest. I just love that. And I think that we got to do this a lot. So as
Yeah.
often as you're willing to come on here, I'm willing to have you. I think our conversations are great. They go into detail in different areas and aspects. So we do have a lot to offer on a very big scale. So
Yeah.
our conversations are wide. I think this was a great opening to the Cyberwatch Act. uh,
Definitely.
but you know, I think we can zero in on some specific conversations going forward now. Now that everybody knows a little bit about us and what our our goals are when we're
Right.
trying to what we're doing out there in the world, because working in cyber is, it's a feat in itself to one be a woman in cybersecurity.
Definitely.
So that is that has been, for me, it's been a very big challenge, and for you it's, and plus with the military there's a lot of challenges that we have faced to get where we're at today. So we have a
Yeah.
lot of stories that we can share, that I don't want to share just to bitch and moan about it, but to
Right.
show women, Black women coming into the field, which is a very important aspect now, that we can grow immensely as women in cybersecurity. And we need the voices. We need the women's
We
voices.
do.
We need your
We
voice.
do.
We need, women in general, women, the minority coming in brings a perspective that I think adds balance.
It does.
Men are great at what they do. They really understand the cyber defense side of things. They get all that stuff. That's great. Women can do that too. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. But we bring balance because we have perspectives that kind of help to navigate our decisions and the way we make decisions in corporations and stuff like that. So we need everybody's voice.
Everyone
Everyone.
has a voice. Let's be more of this transformational culture where we bring
Mm-hmm.
everyone to the table. Everyone has a say. Everyone can share a voice. Everyone feels more involved and everyone is accepted. Their voice is not shunned or silenced just because of an experience or lack of experience or lack of credentials. Because how can we begin? How can we become better as a
Mm-hmm.
collective if we silence the voice of others who may need that mentorship, that guidance, that difference of viewpoint and or opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're here to grow the culture and grow the perspective in a positive way. And
Yeah.
we cyber women are just as bad and just as determined in a
Oh
good
my.
way
Oh
to
my.
make a positive
Mm-hmm.
impact. And we're still proving that we belong in the field and we
Mm-hmm.
do belong in the field. So
Absolutely.
I
And we're
look
your
forward to
ally.
our conversation. We opened the can. We started opening that can just a little bit. Let's open it. I'm
Let's
down.
open it.
Let's just open it and just pop it and watch all the little springy worms and ideas and conversations that are going to be helpful to the audience. Let's bring that to the surface. And then let's
Mm-hmm.
just, see what we accomplished together as women who are passionate about what we're doing day in and day out of our lives. Especially I want to say we're veterans in the field, girl. We were building computers and doing RJ-45s. I was in the ceiling crawling in worm like
Oh
in
my
webs
gosh.
and stuff. It was
No,
horrible, but
they
I
told me
learned.
to do that. I'm like, no.
I didn't have a
They're like,
choice
but
as
you're
a
the spell is
soldier.
fun. I'm like,
I didn't have a choice as a soldier. I just had to get up there and run and low crawl that cable through the different attic spaces or the spaces. I was like, I've got to get out of this
Oh
line of
man, I don't
work.
know what I would have done. I'd have been, ugh.
But it's okay. It happens.
I sat out there with a big spool because real quick, our company was rolling out Windows 95. And
Mhm.
so we're going from dummy terminals to Windows 95. So we needed to have these Ethernet cables on every desk, right? So they ordered Ethernet cable and we got a big spool delivered to us because they didn't specify I wanted, a 10,000 10-foot Ethernet cables already prepared.
Right.
So we had a spool of Cat5 sitting in the parking lot in one of the parking stalls because nobody knew where to put it. They were like, we didn't order that. Well, yeah, you did. They ordered it. So I'm sitting there and I'm a contractor and I'm looking at these guys looking at each other like, what are we supposed to do with this? Can we take it back? I'm like, that thing's got to weigh 1,000 pounds. You can't just take that back. You gotta
Right.
you gotta figure out what you're gonna do right now. Like, what is the solution? So I'm looking at them and I'm like, so this is supposed to be enough to cover everything we need for every desk inside. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so what do we need to do? And they're like, well, we'd have to, they also sent boxes of the RJ45. So we had the Cat 5 and boxes and boxes of RJ45s. So
Mhm.
in RJ45 is a little adapter. When you used to plug your phone into the wall, that was what was that one? The R something, the different
RJ11. It was an
11.
RJ11. Yeah.
Yeah. So these RJ45s are the Ethernet size. So if you look at the back of your computer when you're plugging it into your router, that is the little adapter that we had to wire. And I can't tell you how many times I separated my thumbnail pushing those wires in there. And then you have to clamp it. So I said, well, if we have Gray Bar locally, which is an electronics store, and I'm like, so if we were to take the cable and just add our own adapters to it, we could still use this. They're like, yeah, but who's going to do that? And I'm like, well, while you guys are doing that, I cleaned up the router closet already. Closet, isn't that funny? Closet. I already got the closet cleaned up. So I'm like, I don't have anything to do at the moment, not knowing, that I was going to be separating my thumbnail from my from my thumb trying to. I had no idea what I was volunteering to do, but I did. I actually, helped solve the problem. We got to keep moving, and we were able to get most of the devices hooked up by the deadline. I had to
Nice.
do a little what's that? Huck Finn yeah, with the painting of the fence. Doesn't this look fun? Yeah, come and join me. You want to help? Look, all you have to do is this. So I got a couple people to join in and help me out with it. So we were able to finish it all by that week. So it was a big job, but man, was that oh that was my
You better,
beginning.
and you better not have, you could not confuse the ends. Don't make it a
No.
straight through, a crossover. You make
Mm-hmm.
sure it was a straight through cable is straight because if one of those ends were wrong, you are not getting any
Yeah, you
connectivity.
definitely. So
I
yeah,
love that.
I
I
can
still
see
have
that
a
stuff in
crimper.
my mind. Like I don't even I still do my own crimping. Of course,
Yeah,
now
I
it's like
have
it's so
one.
easy.
I just
It's
crimped just a temporary cable, and I'm like, God, man, I still remember the
this thing
color
is
codes and
loose. I
everything. It's
can't stand it.
crazy.
Clip.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those were good times.
Yeah.
Those are
So we
good
have some
times.
great stories to share. Not all of them are great, but some of them are just hilarious to think back on now.
Yeah.
So don't go anywhere. But thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank
This has
you.
been a fun episode for our first Cyber Watch. Be sure if you like what we've said today, make sure you like and comment about this episode, and share with us what you like the most and what you would like to hear more of. And that could be whether you're a parent or a business owner, whichever. Make sure you just leave a comment for us, and we'll read those and we'll respond. And maybe we can customize some of our future episodes going forward. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye.
Bye.